Hi guys, and welcome to Cultnomics. My name is Paul Hanley, and today I'm going to be chatting to you about a kinked demand curve. There are 5 key features that underpin the kinked demand curve model in oligopoly, and these show that the market is moving away from competition. So, the first assumption would be that there are just a small number of firms in that market. This is a move away from perfect competition and monopolistic because individual firms now contain and possess quite a large market share in that market. There are also barriers to entry, so it is quite difficult to enter into an oligopoly where there might be large cost investments to entering that market. Because there are a small number of firms, each individual one is independent and they react to the strategies and price changes of other firms. Also, because they interact with one another, it causes a kinked demand curve where a part of the demand curve is elastic and the other part is inelastic. And finally, we assume that firms here are profit maximizers. Okay guys, in order to explain the kinked demand curve model, what we're going to do is draw down a basic diagram here and label it with price up here on the y-axis, and we'll have quantity down here on the x-axis. We're also going to put in our origin point, bottom left down here, put in a 0. Now, for a kinked demand curve model, the demand curve has 2 shapes to it. The initial shape is rather flat, just like I've drawn here, and the second half of the demand curve tends to be quite steep, as drawn as well. We're going to give these their technical names. The flat part we're going to refer to as elastic demand, and we'll come back to this in a minute as to what that means. And the flat part, we're going to call that inelastic demand. And once again, we will come back to that in just 1 minute's time. Okay, we're going to assume that there's a small number of firms competing in this market and that each firm is charging a price level just at the kink in the demand curve. So we're going to call this P1, the starting price, and from this and from our demand curve, we derive our quantity for sale as well. And we're looking at it for just one individual firm here. Just like any firm, this firm here may want to try and increase its total profit, so it may change its pricing strategy. So what it may do is try and increase its price level to see if it can increase its total revenue. So it increases price level to P2. We can indicate that with an arrow here. And what we're going to look at is the impact on the quantity demanded, the quantity sold by this company. And what we can see is quantity demanded drops down to Q2. So from a relatively small increase in price, what we see is quantity demanded drops proportionately more. And this is exactly what we mean by elastic demand. The reason for this is that if one firm increases its price, other firms tend to leave that firm off. They don't follow with a change in their pricing strategy, which means that this individual standout firm tends to lose an awful lot of customers as indicated here, and total revenue falls. The other strategy that the firm could employ is to decrease its price level. So if we take an example here where they start off again at P1 and they decrease their price level down to P3, we can see the impact again on quantity. So we have a decrease in price here and we have our impact on quantity as traced out by the demand curve. And just by visualizing this here, you see a relatively large drop in price, but a relatively small or proportionately smaller increase in quantity demanded. So what this means overall is that total revenue drops after a price change. The reason for it is that it faces inelastic demand, which means that other firms, when they see the original firm decreasing its price level, tend to react and also decrease their price level. So while the first firm gains a few extra customers, the increase in them is proportionately less than the price change. So overall then, firms in a kinked demand curve model tend to stay at the kink and charge a price of P1. I hope you call back to Cultnomics soon. Bye for now.